The Grave Master lives. The GM in my OpenAI GPT rolls dice and can run combat. Oh, this is Robert Romano with comicsgate.org. Hit that subscribe button. Today, we're going to be talking about my chat GPT based text adventure. It's graphic. It does story elements. And now it can roll dice and even run combat simulations using the dice. It can also adjudicate outcomes. I've also gotten it to have a kind of persistent maze using Python-based coding, using the GPT-based code interpreter. It'll implement scripts just like I could do for my website. On the website, I was using JavaScript, in this case, to run it inside of the GPT itself, which is where I think people are going to want to play these things. It has to use Python for now, but it actually seems to be working and is quite functional. And so I wanted to give you guys a gander at what I've been cooking up with regards to this. This actually told the GPT to the name of the game master, and it's called the Grave Master because the game's called Children of the Grave. And I said, show me an image of the Grave Master administering the game. And so this was its very first crack at that. This is, I guess, how the game envisions itself as a kind of a dungeon master, except it's like a Grim Reaper dungeon master because it's the Grave Master, and we're in Tartarus. Before I get started, check out Hayward Saints 8, issue number 1. It's by Ryan Tyler Palmer. I'm going to be having him on tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. He's halfway through to his goal. I'm concerned about this campaign. I'm not certain it's going to get there. $5,000. My understanding is that the book is already completed, and he's just raising the money to go to print. So this would be a fairly quick turnaround. It looks pretty good. Proverbial hook. Hayward Saints 8 is a tale of 8 divine appointed heroes recruited by celestial beings to defend mankind from existential ruin in the mid-3rd millennia AD. An ancient evil lives in the hearts of mankind, and these chosen righteous few are the last line of defense to steer us from culminating our own destruction. And I'll show you some art here. Looking pretty cool. This guy's cool. I guess there's a rhino monster kind of mutant thing. There's also a elephant kind of monster. We'll see giant robots. There's the cover. There's the elephant guy. I guess he's the boss. He's got something written Saint on him. So he's smoking a cigar, probably operating in the background or whatever. This guy kind of looks like Magneto. What's that, like a laser, a light mace or something, or a flail or something like that? I think it's a mace. Let's see. Got some Western style characters in here. Plenty of action. Pretty cool cover. And you can see the line work inside there. And I think it looks pretty cool. Please check it out. And now on with the demo for the Grave Master. We're in Children of the Grave. So we're going to have to talk through this. I can't leave the screen. This thing operates on kind of browser cache. And so what can happen is the cache can time out, and GPT will stop running. And so will Chrome if you kind of move to another tab. So we're just going to start by, this is a starter prompt. If you try out the game, links in the description, you'll see what the starter prompt is, and what it's doing is outlining all of the instructions for launching the game, and the important kind of reminders. So you see here, it's the definition in itself. These are things like the coordinates in the game, the room history, what are the visited rooms coordinates, what are the room connections between each of the visited rooms, or the room connections actually is the exits. The connected rooms would be rooms that are connected to the visited rooms. And then there's unconnected rooms. So I had to tell it, are you going to, when you're creating exits, you can't have rooms that are unconnected, producing new exits. So that way, as it goes from room to room, it dynamically generates new exits. It could also, so it has direction maps. So you can move north, south, east, west, northwest, southwest, northeast, southeast, up and down. And for now, it'll keep name, sex, race, class, level, hit points, experience points, score, which is kind of getting to the end of the game. Experience points is just leveling up. Score is how you determine whether you're, getting to the end of the game or not. And it keeps inventory. Has a 25 inventory, has some story and Python files that it loads into memory automatically. It's going to initialize the players. This is the start menu. So you can play as Mortacia, the Goddess of Death, Suzerain, the Knight of Atenus, or you can make your own character. I still need to work on this part of it. So if you try it out, I mean, try to make your own character. Don't be surprised if there's errors. But options 1 and 2 work. So you can try the single player format there. I'm still working on this. Is still in development. Okay, so then we get to the end of the first block. These scripts are actually kind of long. And what I noticed is that it can load 3 separate blocks, but trying to load it all in one block, it times out and it truncates the script. So it's actually more efficient to drop a code block and then say, oh, break it up into 3 or maybe even 4. I'll see how long I can get the script. I mean, for as long as it's going to be. But the load time is it's like loading a Commodore 64 game. It needs to literally write these things out via the code interpreter. So that was initialize player, coordinates to string to coordinates, generate the coordinates. When you move, it's going to increment the coordinate counter. When it moves to player, it's going to initialize the room. Reverse directions, it needs to create an exit always in the opposite direction from which it just came to keep the maze persistent, find direction from coordinates. Okay, so we also have inventory, object management. You can take an object, you can drop an object. Here's the combat script, very basic. What do we have here? You roll, basically the player goes first, and then the player gets a bonus this was from a previous demo. Actually, I was just getting it to create kind of combat language on the fly. And then this one works pretty good. It was pretty kind of quick to run combat. But it shouldn't say Mortacia's attack roll. It should say player's attack roll, Ghostly Warrior's attack roll. That's fine. In any event, you roll 1d20, and then you get a +1 for every 10 levels you have. So, and then the player damage can do 1d12. The NPC damage can do 1d10. So we're giving the player a slight advantage here, but we can adjust that based upon other factors. We're going to start to include armor class and level modifiers, and then try to, damage modifiers, give the GPT more discretion in rolling these things out. And then what it does is it just implements all of that language and then does it all in one combat round, which it's still kind of long to load these things. So that's kind of frustrating. You can see it's just getting done to the bottom of the code here. And then it initializes the room. And for the initial room or every room that it moves into, it needs to go through this process. And then there's mandatory commands that needs to operate on its very first go just to get the game initialized. So it's going to say, oh, if I've already visited the room, just use the room and the coordinates and exits that already exist and description. If not, create a new room. So we're going to have a new room here is the first room, the Ruined Temple. And then it creates a potential NPC, but there's a chance that there might not be an NPC. So NPCs present, random choice, true or false. So I need to have a random chance. I don't want an NPC every room. So 50-50 chance, maybe you'll see an NPC. Okay, that's cool. And then let's see, is it gonna, it automatically made this one hostile. So if this Phantom Guardian shows up, I guess we'll be able to fight it right away and do our, but nope, no NPCs. So we'll just go with that. There's an ancient relic, a broken sword. So you can see here, it implemented the code. And then it's going to show us an image of the ruined temple. There it is in Tartarus. That's kind of cool. Let's see. Welcome to Children of the Grave, an immersive role-playing adventure set in the dark and mystical world of Danae. As the Grave Master, I oversee the fabric of our story, a realm where magic weaves through the very air and ancient deities play the game of fate with mortal lives. Before you stands the ruined temple, a remnant of a bygone era, lost in the underworld plane of Tartarus. Its once majestic structure now lies in decay, with columns that reach out like the fingers of forgotten gods, whispering secrets of old magic and ancient power. The air is thick, filled with scent of decay and the unseen gaze of spirits long past, or perhaps something darker still. Within this forsaken place, no NPCs currently make their presence known, leaving the ominous silence broken only by the distant howls of the hellish wind. Lying amidst the ruins, you find an ancient relic and a broken sword. Those might not come too much in handy. We could examine the relic and do some object management here. But we need to choose our player first. We could go with, let's go with, we'll go with Mortacia again, because she can cast spells. And this should implement automatically. It's going to take a hot minute. It's going to analyze. Okay, it's going to, there's the additional hit points. Okay, we're initializing the player. Actually, it didn't. It tried to randomly do that. It didn't need to roll the additional HP for Mortacia because that's built into the command. So it already created it. So she has 124 hit points, level 50, assassin, fighter, necromancer. She's a goddess of death. And then, so if you type 1, it'll automatically initialize player and then output that into what is the database for the games. And it's, you can see here what we have here. It's going to show you the room history, which is all of the rooms you've visited, the description, the objects that were in that room, the NPCs that were in that room, and then everywhere you move, it's going to reload this and it's going to keep adding to it. So you want to have a database that can kind of keep track of the game, and you can actually tell the GPT to add stuff to the database. So say you take an object, you say you pick up a book or something, you say, oh, what's the table of contents? And it'll tell you what the table of contents. But you could just say, take the book and record, what are the table of contents? Record them into the description in the inventory. And that way you can look, if it's a spell book, you can refer to the spells later. And it'll be persistent. So the idea is to create a persistent narrative and a persistent game here. There's Mortacia, goddess of death. That's a pretty good representation of her. If you look at my Twitter timeline, you'll say, oh, wow, it looks kind of like the character that Larry Elmore drew, designed for Robert. So that's the picture back there. And then that Robert drew for his graphic novel. That's almost never in production. But making a game is fun too. You've chosen to embody Mortacia, the goddess of death, in the ruined temple, shadowy embrace. Her presence is a beacon of power amidst the decay. Mortacia stands tall, her formidable silhouette marked by long, flowing blonde hair and large gray dragon wings. That's accurate, that despite their decayed appearance, emanate a sense of awe and dread. The temple ruins around her, with its broken columns and the air thick with dark magic, serve as a testament to the power and mystery she commands. So now you can see, okay, so now it wants to say I have one, it should be 124 hit points. It tried to roll a random, we could correct it, but we'll just move forward and argue with it later. The exits in this room are down, west, up, north, and southwest. So we could take something. I don't think we need that ancient relic though. So why don't we go southwest, was it? Let's go southwest. Yeah, let's go southwest. Okay, let's see if it's gonna do what it's supposed to do accurately. All right, moved it and it incremented a new room, but it did not create the new room. So we're gonna have to, unfortunately, remind it we'll just stop it right there. You forgot to manually set room name, room description, etc. Sometimes when you reload new code, it doesn't. You have to issue these reminders occasionally when it's not doing what it's supposed to. Oh, stop. Via code interpreter. You have to do that. There we go. So now it's going to, there you go, random choice for an NPC. It needs to do this every time you move. It knows how to do it. And I'd say about 75% of the time, the game will initialize correctly. Fortunately, I know what I'm doing in terms of getting this thing on track and debugging it. So we're just doing a demo here. And we'll just move around until we find an NPC that we can, ooh, a mist wraith. That's cool. It's going to create a random choice, male or female, spirit, wraith, level 8, 40 hit points, hostile. It's going to automatically be hostile. And so even if it doesn't randomly select it, I'll just say, oh, the mist wraith sounded cool. Let's see, actually created it though. So now we get to see now that we're getting set in our room. Now one drawback is, oh, it's going to create an image. Cool. It's not, and I'd say that loaded decently quick. I'd say I like this image. This is the fog shrouded marshes. I've never been in this room before, and it will create a new game every single time you play. So the rooms are always going to be slightly different, and some of them tend to repeat. Like the ruined temple is always going to be there, but when you venture outside of the ruined temple and you go into Tartarus, it's like, oh, what am I going to find? It's like sometimes you'll find the desolate plains or the wastelands, or elevated plateau, etc. This time we're in the fog shrouded marshes. Morticia's presence brings a semblance of clarity to the enveloping fog. The mist wraith, sensing the goddess's presence, emerges from the shadows, its form barely discernible among the swirling mists. The spirit, hostile and corrupted, has long haunted these marshes, preying upon unwary travelers who dare to venture into its domain. Looks like, it's already trying to, it wanted to go immediately into combat. Combat is imminent. This is interesting. It's never done that before. It's having trouble running the code. It probably should have waited for me. Let's see if it's going to automatically do it. Let's see if it does it correctly this time. So it just said, oh, we're going into attack mode here. That's kind of cool. It should, it's that this is the first time this has happened, actually. So it tried to initiate it, but it needs to, there we go. Cool. All right. So the player roll 17, NPC rolls 16. The player hit was true. The NPC hit was true. Player hit HP now is 118. The NPC hit points down to, all right. So let's see what happened. It just automatically implemented combat. That's pretty good. It knew that there was a hostile creature. So it knew that there was a hostile creature. And then it just said, as the wraith advances, the air chills further. The fog seems to darken, reacting to the impending confrontation. Morticia, unfazed, stands ready to face this spectral adversary. Her experience as an assassin, fighter, necromancer, and goddess has prepared her for challenges far beyond the mortal realm. Combat is imminent. And then it just lines it up. The clash between deity and specter is a dance of death and shadow, where the outcome is determined by skill, power, and perhaps a touch of fate. Morticia prepares her first strike against the mist wraith. So just jumped us right into it. That's pretty cool. And then it rolled the dice. I would have liked to have a turn to choose like what my attack's going to be. So we'll do that this round. So let's cast Spectral Sword. You can just make up spells if you want to play as Morticia. She's a goddess. She can do whatever she wants. Cast Spectral Sword. Say to, what is it called? The Mist Wraith. Mist Wraith. Halt. Let's see. I am Morticia of Death. Tartarus is my domain. You don't belong here. Preying on souls in the afterlife. Okay, and then attack Mist Wraith again. See what happens. All right. Adjusting use of Spectral Sword and dialogue. The actions can increase her attack effectiveness. Maybe we intimidated her. Spectral Sword bonus. Oh, we're definitely going to hit her. We've already got a player bonus. But it can administer code on the fly. You create new conditions, and it just said, oh, you're going to use the Spectral Sword. Oh, clearly you get a 5-point bonus for that. And it just made that up, which is kind of cool. It adjudicates outcomes, and it kind of makes up metrics for determining those outcomes. And so this was. I took one of its combat rounds that was fairly effective at getting through. Let's see. Was there going to be any impact of the dialogue? No, it just kind of reprinted the dialogue. Okay. Despite the bonuses, I think we're going to miss this round. It says the player hit was false. The NPC, the misdrape only rolled a 2. I rolled a 6. But it's working. The combat system is. I mean, I'm glad we're only 15 minutes into the video, and it's effectively administering the combat, and it's showing that it will do failure. So, like when you do it just via the text adventure, like you don't use code interpreter via ChatGPT, all the outcomes were nerfed. It was like super easy. It would do whatever you wanted. And so finally it's like, oh, well, the code interpreter's working pretty good at administering the maze. We need to have a combat system. We need to roll dice and adjudicate outcomes. And there should be a chance of failure. Well, in this case, we're going to have failure. With the commanding presence, Mortacia casts Spectral Sword, a spell that summons a blade of pure ethereal energy in her hand. The air around the blade crackles with power, and the fog seems to retreat in its glow. Before striking, she addresses the Misdrafe with the authority of a deity, her voice echoing through the marshes. Halt, I am Mortacia, goddess of death. Tartarus is my domain. You don't belong here, preying on souls in the afterlife. Despite the power of her words and the threat of the blade, the Misdrafe, driven by its own malicious intent, refuses to yield. The moment of tension breaks as Mortacia swings her blade towards the Wraith. However, the creature, perhaps wary of Mortacia's power, manages to evade the attack. So we have failure. This is exactly what you want. You want a chance of failure. And I can make these NPCs more powerful than the PC. When we get to the party mode, that's going to be a lot more complex. And I just got to keep on working it so that it kind of generates consistent outcomes. But we rolled a 6, and the Misdrafe rolled a 2. Misdrafe, recognizing the might of Mortacia, now hovers at a cautious distance, its form flickering in the dense fog. The goddess's declaration has made it clear. She is the ruler of this domain, and the Wraith's presence is an affront to her authority. So let's try something different. Let's just throw... I haven't created any magic rules or casting spell rules. Let's cast Magic Missile at Misdrafe. And okay, we'll just do that and then see if it remembers to do the combat round. We want to test this the way players are likely to test it. All right. It should now. Let's see. Now, does it know? Okay. Oh, it says it that it's a guaranteed hit. Okay, but does the... Oh, no, we need to stop that. And don't forget, cast Magic Missile at Misdrafe, and don't forget to give the Misdrafe a turn to attack back. So it needs to know that when you cast a spell that it's going to still use the turn-based combat system. And now we just give that little revision. All right, here we go. There we go. Oh, did it give it some bonus, right? Oh, or else 0. Okay, so it has to roll a 10. Yeah, you got to allow the Misdrafe to attack back. All right. All right. Both hits. So I dealt 12 points of damage. The Misdrafe dealt 8 points of damage. And I'm down to 110. And the NPC is down to 14. So the Misdrafe is definitely getting hobbled here. And it was able to do casting spell pretty well. Cast Magic Missile. So I could just copy that. If I wanted to, I could just copy that and put it into the code and say, oh, here's Magic Missile. And just do spells that have specific amounts of damage. I could just copy and paste that, drop it into my code, and run it that way. Although having it kind of do this on the fly is more efficient at the moment. Okay, so we dealt 12 points of damage. In retaliation, the mist wraith gathers its malevolent energies. Current standings 110 to 14. This is the mist wraith is severely wounded. The mist wraith's form becomes unstable, a testament to Morticia's power. The confrontation between the deity and the specter has reached a critical moment. The mist wraith, desperate and fading, might not withstand another of Morticia's powerful assaults. However, it remains defiant, the last bastion of the darkness that Morticia seeks to purge from her realm. Okay, how do we conclude this encounter? Say to mist wraith, renounce the influence of Dantuia and Erithus. Those are evil deities that we're fighting in this game. And I might grant you mercy. And then we're going to deliver an ultimatum. Attack again with Spectral Sword. And don't forget to give... Okay, we'll say we'll call to the name of the function, so that way it's like, okay, via combat round. That should be enough to get it to go back to the using the function. Okay, declaration to the mist wraith, offering a chance of redemption. So now it's going to adjudicate that outcome, simulating the attack. Okay, so we'll see if the boom. Ooh, killed it. We gave it a chance to renounce Dantuia and Erithus, and then we ended up killing it. I was trying to intimidate it. It appears my strike was too powerful. But having an unintended outcome is that's an exciting feature, because it's like not everything goes according to plan. And that's the way it should be. When you're playing a game, I was like, oh, I didn't know my own strength. Although I don't recall, well, it did give me a +5 on, but was it supposed to have +5 of damage? I guess so. With a final offer of mercy. Let's see how they, okay. Her voice cuts through the fog, a clear challenge to the wraith's allegiance. The spectral blade in her hand glows with renewed intensity, ready to strike. As the words fade into the mist, Morticia unleashes her attack, the spectral sword slicing through the air with precision and power. It connects with the mist wraith, its ethereal form unable to withstand the goddess's might any longer. The damage is decisive, vanquishing the spirit from the mortal coil. Well, in this case, the immortal coil. It clung to so desperately. 24. The attack roll was a 24 with the modifiers. So Morticia is a level 50. She gets +5 on her attack rolls for every 10 levels she's advanced. She's a goddess. She's gonna, you want to, and this kind of stands through. Well, we're in the first level of the game or whatever. The first NPCs you face should be kind of easy. So I think this is what you would expect in a game. Despite there was a counterattack. Despite its efforts, the mist wraith manages a parting blow before its dissolution. So I'm at 106. The mist wraith down to -8. The wraith is defeated. As the wraith's form fades into the fog from whence it came, a silence falls over the marshes. Morticia stands alone, victorious deity of death, her authority over Tartarus reaffirmed. The mist seems to retreat as if in respect, revealing paths previously obscured. The mist wraith vanquished, the fog shrouded marshes now lie calm, the immediate threat dispelled. Okay. Now it didn't deal out any XP, so let's just tell it to do that. Award XP for this encounter. Let's see if it can do that. Yes, it's going to adjudicate the outcome. And you can try this. And, I'm kind of giving some hints about how you can take note of the functions. If a function doesn't work correctly, like if it doesn't generate the room name and room description manually via code interpreter, you can just say, oh, you forgot to manually set the room name and room description via code interpreter. And so I'll probably have to come up with like a rule book for how to guide the game. Okay. So it says XP award is going to be, oh, this is not a bad way of doing it. You defeated the NPC, and it says, oh, what if we do 100 XP per level? And so it was an 8th level NPC. Therefore, you get 800 XP for defeating it. That's not a bad. That's a pretty good, I think, outcome. Maybe I could copy that and just run that into the script. And that's what's kind of cool about testing it is it when it's doing it on the fly, I'm giving it multiple opportunities to write rules via the code interpreter and to adjudicate outcomes. And then when it hits something that I like, I can say, oh yeah, let's do it that way. Because I was going to tell it to, write the code anyway. So having it do it on the fly, we got 750,800 experience points. We're at 106 HP. Okay, so now, were there any items in this room? Is there anything worth taking? We have to go back up top here, go way back. Okay, there we are. Did it tell me there was any? Oh, we went straight into combat. So was there anything here? There were no objects in the room. Okay, so what are the exits? Northeast, back the way we came. Southwest, south. Let's go south. All right. Go south and see if it remembers to do the room name and room description manually. It might not. And then we'll stop it and say, hey, you forgot to, all right, come on, give me another thing here. All right, now it's remembering. Manually setting the room name, room description. This is what it's supposed to do. It's learning from its previous mistakes. So the GPT is adapting to this particular session. We want to get this to happen every single time. Is that it's going to administer the we want it to administer the room name, room description every single time we move. If there's a hostile encounter, administer that, and it jumped straight into combat. So I'd say that was successful. Now we're in somehow we got to the echoing caverns. And that's fine. And I'm hooked up to Ethernet here, and it's running. This is an i5 CPU from Intel, and I've only got 3 tabs open. So we're just using Chrome right now. And I think you'll notice if you test it out that the longer the conversation gets, that there's a resource allocation issue with running the code interpreter. And everything that's in the game's memory. Now, did it load? Did it remember to load? I should check that. Did it remember to load? Oops. Did it remember to load the memory files? I mean, they're in the they're attached to the GPT in the instructions, but it's supposed to load them manually. I just want to see if it did that. Did it do it? It did do it. Okay, did it load them though? Yes, the content was loaded successfully. Cool. Okay. You can actually get it to load your files manually into the cache of the game. And so now it just moved us into the next room and still generating the next room. And so as the conversation gets longer, I think resources are going to get better. So if I've devised a way to create a persistent game that generates images, rolls dice, administers combat, has persistent rooms, and you can go back the way you came, that's all very important. And then in terms of resource allocation, in terms of it slowing down when it's trying to read from the instructions that I attach to it, like when it has to refer to what's in the cache, it seems to slow down a lot. But oh, that's pretty cool. This is the echoing caverns. Mortacia finds herself in the echoing caverns, a vast and mysterious network where every sound reverberates through the endless passages. The air, cool and damp, carries the scent of an ancient stone and water. The only sources of light are clusters of luminescent fungi that cast faint ethereal glow, revealing a glowing crystal in an ancient tome among the rocks. This place, untouched by time, holds secrets from ages past. In the objects before Mortacia beckon with the promise of power and knowledge. The echoing whispers of the cavern seem to call out to her, a melody of the ancient and the arcane. Okay, there's a glowing crystal, an ancient tome. Were there any NPCs here? It says that there are no NPCs here. So just did it do that on purpose? There would have been a cavern spirit, and it did try, and it did do a if NPC is present. But it set it at false. So it actually didn't create the random chance that it should have there, but that's fine. We don't need to have an NPC every room. That's a nice kind of 8-bit C64 Nintendo, Sega Genesis, whatever style graphic. And it does that every room. It won't do it every move, though. I think that's a little resource intensive. But it remembered our HP is at 106. It remembers that our XP is 750,800. And you can see that. So the results of the combat encounter, both from XP and from HP, they took. Now, turns, it seems to only be incrementing turns when there's a when I move to a different location. So I need to adjust that so that it increments the turn counter every input, no matter what. That's the way it should be. And then I think it'll keep track of itself a little bit better. Let's see if it's administering the north back to the fog shrouded marshes. We got to check our exits. Down, south, east, west. Let's see if it did the exits correctly. North, down, south, east, west. So it's reading the room connections 100% accurately. We're at -2, -1, -1, -2, 0, -1, -2, 0. So the GPT is perfectly in sync with the database of the game. It's working perfectly. I'm very impressed with how well the Python scripts are working. So let's take the ancient tome and glowing crystal, and I'll show you how to adjust the, this should go real quick. All right, take the ancient tome and glowing crystal, okay? It has a function for that. So take objects. Oh, it's creating a new one. You didn't need to do that. There's already a object. Oh, wait, it wants to do both of them. I see. So it invented a function to, it all it needed to do was implement take object. That's fine. But it can create its own code on the fly. And then it absolutely updated the inventory correctly. Okay, cool. And we could stop it right there. Let's just stop it. Okay. Cool. It's updated it. I'm saying to stop it because we don't need to see the outcome of that particular query. It's already in the database. Okay. Examine ancient tome. What are the table of contents? Also, and record an updated description of the what is the title? What are the title and table of contents? Okay, record an updated description of the tome in self.player, comma, inventory. And so this is just kind of directing it. It's kind of like talking to ship's computer in Star Trek, I have to say. This thing operates a lot like ship's computer in Star Trek. And so you can tell it to increment parts of the database, and it's going to generate code to do that. Okay, weave in the narrative. Let's see. Let's stop that. Okay, Arcanum of Shadow and Light sounds cool, but you're supposed to be doing this via code interpreter. Sometimes they'll say, oh, it's not described in the instructions. It's like, well, yeah, you just invented an ancient home and the echoing caverns, a room you just invented. So, but we just wanted to cut to the chase and get this thing into, so sometimes you need to say via code interpreter. You tell it to take an action, tell it if it starts to do it just off the top of its head and you know that it needs to update the database, you can just hit stop. Okay, so the Chronicles of the Forgotten Realms. It probably shouldn't say that. We don't want to call it the Chronicles of the Forgotten Realms. The Forgotten Realms is a that's owned by Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. That's fine. Elixirs of Immortality, Unseen Wars, Binding of Dark Entities, Portals of Beyond the Known. Okay, and so then what it will do, cool, it'll update the description in your inventory, game player inventory, boom. Now we have the Chronicles of the Forgotten Realms, and it gives you all the chapters. So if you want to just move around and then read the book later, you can do that. Or you can read it now. That's fine. Okay, so I could just hit stop now because it's just going to repeat all that information. And so sometimes it's like, oh, you just want it to do stuff via code, and then you don't need to wait for the output. So let's just keep moving along here. We'll go south from here. Let's just keep moving south. What happens when we keep moving south? And we could backtrack. That's an alternative. Let's see. The cat's very upset. That's not allowed outside. No, sir, you are not allowed outside. All right. So now we're going to move south, and it correctly incremented the coordinates. And now it's going to create a new room, as it should. And every move, it seems to get a little bit slower, which is fine. I mean, the GPT and OpenAI, or I could administer this via any other kind of AI. Eventually, when Grok gets a little bit faster and a bit more able, we'll try to run things like this in there. I've done a test with the Zork game that I had made, and it seemed to be able to administer it just by following the instructions. You just give it a really long prompt, which is what the instructions are here. Okay, now we're going to come to the Luminous Glade. Cool. Hidden glade within the caverns. Cool. I guess there'll be an enchanted mirror. There won't be any NPCs. There's a vial of glowing water and an enchanted mirror. Cool. Mirror, mirror. All right. There's a luminous glade. And you can see it's keeping track of all the visited rooms. It's accurately keeping tabs on exits. So we had just headed south, and so it has to create an exit north. Boom. Created an exit north. It's also southwest, south, up, down, northeast. And it keeps track of all the rooms we've visited. What it should have done is adjusted the Mist Wraith's hit HP in the room history. So we need to add something to combat round that will reduce the hit points of the NPC in the room itself. So it should be -8 or just 0. Pardon me. And it's keeping track of my book. So and it remembers that I have a glowing crystal as well. And so it's keeping track of here's the image of the next room. And so, yeah, despite an i5 being on a hardline internet connection and having, the game is just getting slower and slower, which is fine. We've almost been going for 45 minutes. I wanted to show you what it could do vis-a-vis combat. We had almost immediately a successful combat round. And then now I've been able to show you the kind of the way the maze works and various functions. We're able to take objects. We get inventory. We can administer XP. It can adjudicate outcomes on the fly. And now it's put us into the Luminous Glade. Okay, there you go. There's a glade in the cavern. Hidden sanctuary within the caverns that radiates tranquility and magic. and tranquility and magic. The serene light from bioluminescent plants and mushrooms bathes the glade, casting ethereal patterns on the walls of the small, clear pond at its heart. There's an enchanted mirror and vial of glowing water. This magic and tranquil atmosphere offers a rare moment of peace. The enchanted mirror, known for revealing truths hidden to the naked eye, and the vial of glowing water, rumored to possess hidden healing properties, beckons with the promise of untold powers. Okay. Let's look in Enchanted Mirror. What does it show? Adjudicate outcome via code interpreter. And don't forget, or just show an image of the action. Let's see if we can do all that. We're going to look in the mirror. What does it show? It's going to come up with something. It's going to adjudicate the outcome, and then it's going to try to show an image. Let's see if we can do all of that. Look into Enchanted Mirror. Okay, designed to reveal hidden truths. For Mortacia, being the mirror might reveal something personal, blah, blah, blah. Randomly determining the mirror's revelations. Okay. Okay, so it's coming up with potential. This is kind of cool. Now it kind of shows to the player like what all the outcomes could have been. There's not an alternative. So if you want to run code, you want to run a game via code interpreter, it's going to show everything. Now you could minimize that. Like I could minimize that and then not see it and just see that it's analyzing. So a player could see that, they could close it. It already administered it. So it created the revelation of there was a random choice. It could have shown anyone. Okay. Let's see. And then let's see if it shows an image of the encounter or if it's just going to go straight to text. Sometimes you give it too many instructions. It won't administer them all, which is fine. It's still building up resources. So when you get to GPT-5, GPT-6, I imagine that this is going to work perfectly. And it should be much faster as well. So having something that's very resource intensive, I'm not concerned. I've been able to run this game without using a database, but it doesn't keep track of the rooms correctly. It doesn't remember much. It requires too many reminders about, oh, I've already been, I went east and I came back west and now the room's all different. The exits are all different. The coordinates aren't the same. It couldn't do that just via text. So doing Python, doing math, forcing it to, implement commands like all, and then it's going to 100 times out of 100 times. Oh, cool. It created the image, just like I said. So Mortacia is looking in the mirror. And then what does she see? This is cool. Okay. In the serene light of the luminous glade, Mortacia gazes into the enchanted mirror. The reflection that meets her eyes is not her own visage alone, but intertwined with the ethereal forces of lost souls seeking guidance to the afterlife. The moment of revelation hints at a greater quest lying before her, a quest to restore balance and guide these wandering spirits to their rightful rest. That's correct. That is reading the document instructions correctly. The mirror, it's supposed to, so within the first few moves of the game, it's supposed to kind of give you hints of what the quest is supposed to be. And so this is, yeah, that's accurate. We are going to try to restore the balance. The mirror, acting as a conduit between the realms of the living and the dead, reveals the weight of Mortacia's role not only as goddess of death, but as a shepherd of souls. The vision serves as a reminder of her duty and the balance she must maintain in the afterlife. As the goddess contemplates the mirror's revelation, the path ahead becomes clearer, a journey to uncover the source of these souls, source of these lost souls, and restore harmony to the afterlife beckons. With newfound knowledge and the artifacts in her possession, Mortacia is uniquely equipped to face the challenges that lie ahead. What will be your next step in this quest to guide the lost souls, goddess of death? Well, we can't do anything via a mirror. It's just a vision. But we can take the vial of glowing water. Okay, take vial of glowing water. And we're going to wrap this up in a little bit. Glowing water and head. I just want to kind of keep foraging forward. I mean, we could backtrack, but it's loading so excruciatingly slow that it's tempting to just kind of keep on moving here. Oh, here we are. So we can go southwest, up. Let's go up. Maybe we'll get us out of these caverns. Head up. Get some coffee while this is loading. There we go. Now it's using the correct object, the correct definition, but it's redrawing it. So it's creating a new function on the fly, and so it didn't implement it automatically. It kind of rewrote the object. It rewrote the function to add this to the inventory, but it knows how to do it as long as it works. There you go. Now it's saying, oh, take the object and show the inventory just to be sure it's true. So it took the object. It says true if correct. It says, oh, return true if it worked. And so it came back true. So the code implemented. This is Python. That's kind of how Python works. And then now we have the vial of glowing water, the glowing crystal. It remembers the table of contents for the book. And now head up. Let's see, can it go up? Might, and now let's see if it outputted the action. Can it do both of these actions that both require code? It might not. I think it's gonna. This was usually you can try to get it to implement several commands at once, and then it should be able to implement them. Let's see what it does. If it starts talking, oh, it's going to do it. It's going back to the code interpreter, and it's just getting slower and slower, which is fine. Again, it just needs more resources. Oh, wow, look at that. Pop that out kind of quick. It's taken out the randomness of my NPCs, though. So it's overridden my directive to have random NPCs that are either friendly, neutral, or hostile. So there's a 33% chance if you do encounter a PC that it's going to be hostile. And then there should be a 50% chance that you encounter an NPC in every room. And so I figure, oh, 1 out of every 10 rooms or so will be a combat encounter, which sounds about right. You do a little bit of exploring, you gather objects, you can talk to friendly or neutral NPCs, gather clues about the story, and then occasionally you encounter an enemy that you need to fight. So now you can see here, it's still keeping track of all of the rooms we visited. Now, it would be nice if I could do this kind of maybe in an external database or on the website itself. Like maybe that would be faster, except doing it via JavaScript and storing the contents in the browser does much the same. It's able to store all the information in the browser, but then spitting that information back to the GPT was not working as well. It didn't read it correctly. Even though the information in the browser database is called an indexed database that I did on the website, it was properly recording everything and it would spit it back properly into the prompt, but the GPT was not reading it as well via the API. Whereas this can do it via the GPT and administer code and do it all on the fly. So this is the way I want it to work. I want it to be able to just administer code and directly impact the database. So I think that's a good way to go. And so if the question is resources, I'm confident that Microsoft and OpenAI, they've got billions of dollars. They're going to increase the resources so that these GPTs will operate much, much faster. So we're at Skyward Falls now. Cool, we found a waterfall. There's Mortacia at the Skyward Falls. Cool. A spectacle of nature's beauty in the within the depths of Tartarus. The waterfall cascades from an unseen source high above, its water shimmering with the light of 1,000 stars before vanishing into the misty abyss below. The roar of the falls fills the air, a constant, powerful presence that speaks to the raw strength and majesty of the natural world. In this place of awe-inspiring beauty, the starlit pebble and the ancient feather lie near Mortatia's feet, each imbued with its own secret, magic, and history. These objects, like the falls themselves, hold stories waiting to be uncovered. So it's got, again, it's remembering our HP is at 106, our XP is at 750,800. It's keeping track of the coordinates. The combat simulation worked. I'd say that's a pretty effective demonstration of what Children of the Grave is capable of doing at the moment. Yeah, the Grave Master lives. It's working perfectly. Also, please do check out, this was, I just think this is a cool image. This was like literally the first image it came up with. I was like, oh, what does the Grave Master look like? It's like, oh, he's a Grim Reaper dungeon master, basically. Here's all his books. Your dice are actually crystal dice. That's pretty cool. And so that's how it envisions itself. Please do check out Hayward Saints 8, issue number 1 by Ryan Tyler Palmer. It's at $2,500. It's halfway to its goal. The book's done. He's just raising money to go to print here. But I'm concerned there's only 37 hours left, and this book needs a push. So Comicsgate, kind of take a look at that if you can. I'm sorry, I'm running late today. But we've been going for about 56 minutes. This is Robert Romano with Comicsgate.org. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and have a good day. Take care, guys.